Welcome to KWDC 93.5 Delta College Radio, but we are not on the radio technically. We are outside of the fishbowl and we are in our homes. And I'm here with our memorable host, Mark Larks.
Hello, hello.
And we're talking about, of course, movies. This is MovieTalk. But specifically today, we're talking about the theatrical experience because the Regal theaters have closed. It seems like across the country.
Yeah,
it's insane. And I was raised with these theaters, so it was like a huge blow when I read the article. So what do you think, Mark? What is your perspective on the cinema experience? Do you think the at-home experience is better?
Oh,
Your take?
no. That just simple answer, no. It's not better. And nothing against watching movies at home. It's one of my favorite things to do, but nothing beats the movie-going experience and being, in the theater with other people, and you're all sharing this moment and reacting to what's on the screen. And of course, the big screen with the big surround sound. That's an experience in itself, but there's nothing that beats that theater going experience. And over the summer, I remember reading that they were talking about closing down theaters. Theaters were trying desperately just to hang on till the end of the pandemic to get movies back in circulation. And it looked for a moment like that was going to happen, like theaters were going to survive, and then now Regal closes everything. And so, I'm hoping that's just a temporary thing, but because I can't imagine not going to a movie theater ever again to see a film. It boggles my mind.
You might have to travel further to go see one, because it looks like AMC is still open. You know what blows my mind is they closed the week before everything opened again.
Yeah, that's what blew my mind too.
And I thought they would hold it out for another week, but I think I can understand like the problem with like there's not enough people attending.
Right.
Not just because I think they see it as it's unsafe.
Yeah.
One, and they can't handle all of the protocols and stuff. But people have the streaming services, because now the streaming services, I don't know if you've noticed, but they've become a lot bigger. And so now there's more services. It's not just Netflix anymore.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of change in that. I would agree with you about the shared experience. That's what's lost when you're not in the cinema, is the fact that people are reacting to different things on screen. You're getting you're supposed to be getting the most experience with the surround sound speakers, things that you can't replicate at home. But you'd be surprised with all of the speakers that they've come out with recently, and the 7.1 surround sound or the sound bars. They're really interesting. And I think the big difference with the at-home experience, at least with me, is I still like the big screen.
Me too.
And a lot of theaters, I think the issue that filmmakers were having with theaters were the projection was out of focus a lot of the time. But at home, the filmmaker's getting what they want across to the audience. And
that's a good point. Yeah.
And so there's problems with projection. There's problems with the sound. Even the sound is too low, sound is too high in the theaters, and there wasn't really a happy relationship, I would say, with filmmakers and how the theater was being run. And I think the theaters were upset that the studios were getting more from this deal. They're getting more than the theaters are earning. And so they kind of set themselves up for this problem. And so I can definitely see that happening. And then we discussed last time, I think the studios just might own theaters in the future.
Right.
Just like they did
I could definitely see that
in the early years of Hollywood. They might just end up owning a handful of studios, make less theaters, but make them more like entertainment centers. They're larger, there's more to do. So there's a more likely chance that people travel to go there because there's more to do. They can maybe go shopping,
Right.
and they've kind of have done that for the most part. They put theaters in malls, but I think there's going to be more of that. I think there's going to be definitely a change, and hopefully it's for the better. But I told you last time I went to the movies like 3 weeks ago. I was the only one there.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I know I went on like a Monday at the first showing, and it was a different experience. Like there's no one there, and it's like there is no experience of anything.
Right.
So
And
what
that's
do you
the thing.
think? Like even if they were open, you're not really getting the experience, right? And so that's kind of the issue with everything going on right now. Or they could be very strict with the protocols. And I think at one time, I don't know if you've read articles about it, they were thinking about putting the plexiglass in between each seat.
In between each seat, yeah.
But then who gets the armrest, right? It's always a battle for that. I'm kidding. But yeah, would that work? Like, what would you do if you were running a theater? What protocols would you put in place?
Man, that's a tough one because it seems like every day we're hearing different stuff about how COVID is transmitted, and sometimes you read that it lives on these surfaces and you can get sick from touching things, and then other articles say, well, the chance is really slim, you have to get breathed on, and then it's, well, you don't have to get breathed on, it's it can hang in the air forever, and you just breathe it in, and it's just, I'm not sure what I would do. I think that I'm not sure the plexiglass between the seats would work very well.
That would work.
Like you said, like who gets the armrest, right? And I don't know if having individual like pods, or instead of lined rows of seating, you just have like little pods that people can sit in. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell where this is going. And when you have something like a movie theater or a sports stadium or things like that, it's hard to imagine, for me at least, what is going to have to be done in order for things to return to normal, if it ever does return to quote unquote normal. But as far as getting people back in to share the experience of being at a movie, opening night of a movie is, that was always big when I was a kid. Everyone, you got the line around the block, people want to go see Star Wars, and it's hard to imagine what it's going to take to get that back. But I think there's something about, and I know a lot of people, bash capitalism, but there's something about the capitalist mindset that seems to solve these kinds of problems. I think somewhere down the road, someone's going to figure out a way to make it so that people will feel safe and comfortable going back to a theater or a stadium. I don't know what that would be right now, but I think that it'll happen. I just don't know when, and I don't know what it's going to look like. What would you do if it was you? You're the head of the theater. You want to try to get butts in the seats. What would you do?
Honestly, I would become an entrepreneur and create an app where people buy these VR goggles that simulate being in a theater, and then you just have these, you're like pretty much in chat rooms and stuff. And I think that could be closest to the theatrical experience, minus the chat rooms, I guess. Like you shouldn't talk during a movie. But maybe the app could automatically silence like all of that.
Like mute everything out.
Yeah, which is which people break that rule anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would feel like I would think these tech giants, even these studios, should get on something like that, where and then reduce the fees of the ticket and maybe say, hey, you buy the goggles, you get this membership, and then that membership you can see one movie per month, and maybe it's just like a membership fee. And they were kind of doing that anyway with theaters. I know like Regal was doing that, and then they had some system they did that like a couple of years ago. Ended up not working out. but I think that would rival the streaming services, and it would get people to jump into a new experience instead of going out somewhere. And it's safer, right?
And that's a great idea. I love the idea of the VR technology and kind of saving that experience. But I think it's really interesting, like you were just talking, what you just mentioned about the streaming services, and that's another thing that I think movie theaters, not just because of the pandemic, which is forcing them to, they obviously have things they have to adapt to because of this pandemic, but I think movie theaters have also been kind of reluctant to adapt when it comes to the competition the streaming services are putting up. The one thing the movie theater does have to offer is the experience of being in the theater. And I think for a lot of people, maybe that doesn't matter as much, doesn't mean as much. And so they need to offer something else to entice people to choose coming to the theater rather than watching it on TV at home or on their laptop or something. So I think you make a good point there, that there are other things that the movie theaters in that industry have to take into consideration, and when it comes to adapting and improving what they have to offer to entice people to come to it. And I think this is all coming to a head right now. And I think when the pandemic goes away, theaters are going to have to, at that point, I think streaming services will be dominant. They're going to be what people are going to because that's what they have to go to. And when theaters make a comeback, they're going to have to come back bigger and better and offer something, like you were saying earlier, make it a destination place where you have shopping and you have amusement stuff and you have all these other options, not just the movie theater, but you have other things to do, and you make it a thing that you actually go to as a family to do stuff and make it a day of it. So I think that's why I like asking you these questions, because you always have these really great answers that I've never thought about before. So.
I would think, that VR idea would work, and they're doing that with video games. I know, I can't remember the name of it, but there's like a streaming service where you just buy the controller and you can play like all these video games. I don't know, I'm not a part of that or anything, but
right.
I thought, like, why can't movies do that? Like, the gaming industry knows that they're failing, and they've pivoted to something else. And movies should do the same, because the gaming industry, essentially, nobody wants to go buy a video game in a store because it's worthless by the time you try to sell it. There's like no value. And why can't someone get like a streaming service where you can just see all the games you want to buy or play? And I feel like if movies did that, if the theaters got onto that, I feel like their ticket sales would increase, if anything. And not like a physical ticket, but a digital ticket. Exactly. And they're already doing that. You buy the ticket online first. It's not so different than anything else. So I think the transition would be great. I think Generation Z would jump on that.
Absolutely.
Have a lot of fun in the chat rooms. And the VR experience, it's just seeing like left to right. It's not standing, anything like that. Nothing too complex, I would imagine. And you get the interaction,
Right.
Like, what you lose obviously is the sound, like, quality.
Right.
But I would think that people would want to, have their headphones in and control that. Like, sometimes when I'm in movie theaters and the movie is too loud, I have to like move. Like, I remember like early years, I'd like move seats. Like, and the experience is different wherever you sit too.
That's a good point.
Which the theater has always been designed for. But I think it would be an interesting idea for some big tech giant, Google, Tesla, I don't know, to try out like a VR theater thing. And I feel like they could release more movies that way. I think that when they were releasing older films, when this pandemic was kind of happening, like I was like, oh, that's really cool, because they should do more of that. Mm-hmm. And they do, like, once a year, they'll have like an anniversary of like a director or film.
Right. Yeah.
But imagine if they did, like, there were all these different theatrical streaming services that catered to what you want. And there's already apps for that too. Like for streaming services, you just look up a movie and it'll tell you what streaming service it's on. It's like really convenient.
Right.
So maybe, I mean, that would be an interesting invention. So if anyone's hearing this, include my name and Mark as the co-founders.
No, that's all Mr. B right there. He's, give him all the royalties right there. I was just along for the ride, so I just want a free pair of the goggles. That's what I want.
I'm sure they would be expensive too. But we're gonna take a break and we'll come right back and continue chatting about movies. So catch you guys in a little bit.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Remember your childhood memories where you discovered the magic of nature? Like looking up at the stars or chasing fireflies. Help ensure your child gets those same experiences. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest or park near you and discover other cool things to do when you go, like fishing, biking, or even camping. Visit discovertheforest.org.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for
summer break because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a single father of 2 who works 3
part-time jobs and still can't put enough food on the table?
Or maybe a mother who cleans offices at night,
hoping to find meeting leftovers to take home to her hungry family.
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time
landing a job and getting back on his feet.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Movie Talk. I am Mr. B for all those students out there, and I'm here with Mark Larks.
That's me.
And we were talking about the theatrical experience and how we feel about the recent updates or shutdowns, we could say. And now let's talk about our favorite streaming services, and maybe we can recommend some of these services to those listening.
Cool. You want to go first? Because I know you and I've talked about our favorites before, and we've kicked them around, off the air. But
I feel like my favorites have changed too.
Okay. Well,
like,
then I'm in for a surprise then, I guess.
So I used to use someone else's account for Netflix, but then I found myself using Tubi quite a bit. And if you don't know what Tubi is, it's a free streaming service. And a lot of their content is more geared towards action, horror, thriller films. And it's definitely hit and miss. Like, you're gonna see a lot of bad films, but there are some good films. And some of the takeaways are some of the newer indie films are on that service. So sometimes it's cool to see like frequent updates every couple of weeks from that service, and you get to see new indie content.
Right.
And it's free. Like, it's like Netflix, but it's free.
Yeah.
And a lot of the menu functions are a lot easier to navigate than Netflix.
That's true.
So it's and what's cool about it is, you know how like Netflix shows you the trailer, like if you hold your, like if you're on that that screen. Yeah. So this does the same thing, and it's like, it's unique. Like, I was like, it's the same thing as Netflix, but it's free. So why not? Why can't anyone just like get on this? The only downside is there's some commercial breaks,
right? But
they're not tedious like Hulu. Hulu is really annoying if you if you own Hulu, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I really like Tubi, and I think Netflix is kind of out of it for me because now HBO Max has a lot of great content, And so my new addiction is HBO Max.
Okay. I've not checked out HBO Max.
So here's the perks with HBO Max. You can see what there's like an option where you can see what they just added, which they had at Netflix, but this is more, I feel like it's easier to navigate on HBO, and what's coming next. And they'll show you what's going to be coming next month. And they'll show you the trailers and everything that's coming. Whereas Netflix, you have no idea what's going to come on. And sometimes there's so much content on Netflix, you're just like, I can't keep up. So HBO is really great about that. And they give you a good bundle of like what they're doing monthly. And HBO Max is going to get the movies out of theater, movies that have just been released first versus the other services. So definitely recommend HBO Max. I believe you can skip the commercials now. Like there's like an intro commercial. You can skip that. Easy. And I just really like it. I like the way you can navigate it is so much simpler than all these other streaming services. So I like HBO Max. And then I always talk about Criterion Channel. Yes, if you're a filmmaker, you love old films, classic films, international films. Criterion is definitely up to their game even in the last couple months. They provided new content. I feel like every couple weeks they will have like a new interview with a director or someone a part of a film, or even like actors talking about what that film meant to them, which is actually kind of a neat idea. So Criterion Channel is, I have mine for $9.99 because I got it when it first came out, but I believe what's Netflix right now? Is it like 15?
$15.99, I believe.
I think it's around that same price now. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, those are my 3 recommendations. Tubi, HBO Max, Criterion Channel. All right, Mark, now I'd like to hear your choices.
So if you would ask me this a while ago, Netflix would have been, top of the list. But, again, now with the streaming services that popped up, like, a lot of movies aren't making it to Netflix. Disney Plus now. I remember watching Coco on Netflix, and my wife and I went to watch it the other night thinking it was still on there, and Coco is no longer on Netflix because it's on Disney Plus. It's a Pixar film. So, things like that are happening. And I still enjoy Netflix, but I think if I'm gonna pick my favorite streaming services, I do like Amazon Prime. We've been watching Amazon Prime a lot. They have a lot of great stuff that you can't find on Netflix or really anywhere else. A lot of great shows and series that from around the world. My wife likes to watch a lot of gardening shows, so she's got stuff from like on the BBC channel that she watches, and things like that. And a lot of the stuff, obviously you pay for the Prime membership, but if you already have a Prime membership, you get Prime TV or Prime Video, I should say, included with that. So
that's cool.
So if you don't have Prime membership, you got to pay for watching Amazon Prime on TV. But that one though, I've gotten really fond of because it's just got a lot of stuff on that you can't find anywhere else. Then Tubi, I'm with you on that. Yes. Tubi's, when I first heard about Tubi, I was like, what's the catch? Like there's got to be a scam. This is ridiculous.
That's what I thought at first too. Yeah.
And I had to look it up and make sure it was legit, and it was. So Tubi, I love the fact that I had a film class a couple semesters ago, and it was on horror films, and we had to watch Night of the Living Dead, and I couldn't find it on Netflix. I found it on Prime, but it wasn't free with Prime. That's the other downside with Prime. Some movies, a lot of movies are free, but some movies you have to pay for. You have to rent or buy, which is kind of a downer. So that's
like Hulu's kind of like that in a way.
Yeah, and exactly, yeah. So yeah, Night of the Living Dead. I could rent it or buy it on Prime, and then I was like, let me see if Tubi has it, and sure enough, they had it. And like you said, yeah, sometimes there are commercials, but it's like one commercial or maybe 2 commercials max. and that's it. So wasn't a big deal. Watched it and enjoyed it. And then the other thing with Tubi is there's stuff on there like I actually watched last night on Tubi, Peter Gabriel concert that was
What?
yeah, Peter. It's one from like the mid '90s. I remember watching it when it first came out. I watched it on I think I don't even know what cable channel it was on, but it was a really great concert, and I found it on Tubi, and I was like, oh man, I love this 26 years ago. Let me watch it again. So again, it was some of the older stuff that you're not going to find playing anywhere else, but you can find concerts on Tubi. And so that was, I just watched it last night. It was great. So yeah, so Prime and Tubi, and then I think for all of its, I don't know, downsides and annoyances, I still got to say I do like Hulu. I've grown to like Hulu. I did not like it when I first tried it. I had the trial period, and I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to stick with this. But I've kind of come to enjoy Hulu. Can find some old TV shows that I miss watching, and I think for the money, I think you can get it bundled with Spotify, and so you get those two bundled together, and it's not a bad deal. Like if you're into music as well, I think that Hulu is a good investment, because you can get your Spotify, unlimited Spotify, and your Hulu, bundle them together, and it's cheaper than buying them separate, and you're going to get enjoyment out of it no matter what you're in the mood for. If you're moving from music or TV, you're going to have something to entertain yourself with. But
yeah, that's true. Like Hulu has all these bundles with like Disney Plus. That was kind of the first bundle when Disney Plus came out, and that's what we got. And then it came with like ESPN, and then
right.
Yeah, and I think HBO now is with YouTube TV, if I'm not mistaken. And by the way, YouTube TV is an awesome service. Their price kind of went up recently though, which sucks. But I really liked navigating that streaming service too.
I've not checked out YouTube TV, and now I have to check that out. I mean, I've heard of it. I just hadn't checked it out. So
I think a lot of these free streaming services, and some notable mentions like Pluto TV. I don't know if you've heard of that, or Crackle. Like those were like the two original ones.
Zumo's another one.
Yeah,
like QMO.
Like when they came out, they were really cool, but now it seems like Tubi has like more cool content.
Oh yeah,
Tubi's I would categorize that. Yeah. But yeah, Hulu has all the great TV shows, like especially when they adopted the Twilight Zone series. So I was like,
that's right.
Oh yeah, Hulu is great for that, and Frasier. I just like watching Frasier because it's not funny.
Yeah.
It's so boring, but you just kind of watch it because like it's there, the series is there. So yeah, I feel like if you're more into TV shows, maybe Hulu, would be your best pick, or like more international award-nominated films. I feel like I was finding more of that on Hulu as well, and their menu functions have changed, which is good. It's easier to navigate Hulu.
It has gotten a lot easier, yes.
So and then the bundle deal, I feel like is kind of worth it.
Yeah.
Whichever bundle you go with, for sure. But Disney Plus is going to get Mandalorian season 2, so
that's right.
Going to change the game a little bit, at least for a while. We'll see what else Disney is doing, because I know they're releasing movies for like $30 online, like their new releases.
Really?
Yeah, like they released Mulan. That was supposed
that's right. They did release
Mulan. Yeah. I didn't see it because I was like, oh, like I guess I can understand their price point because they assume that your family is going to watch it. So the $30 is.
They're figuring $30 is cheaper than if you'd gone to the theater with your 2 kids and your wife. Like you're still coming out ahead.
Yeah, you might be right there. Yeah, it's probably like an okay deal, I would say.
Right.
But I have not purchased the film. But Disney Plus is really cool. They got a lot of like, old content that like when I was, stuff that I watched when I was a kid. I was like, wow.
Right. They've got The Simpsons now, and they've got.
That's right.
All the Marvel stuff, obviously.
Yeah. So Disney Plus is I like their navigation system too. I think that defines a quality streaming service for me now. Is if I can navigate the menu functions, it's easy.
Yeah.
And then great content always helps too.
And being able to search for something without having to figure out, how to navigate a 747.
There's this other app that I would totally recommend. It's called Just Watch. It's a free app you can get with Apple and Android, and you type in whatever movie you want, and it will tell you what streaming services it's on.
Oh, that's great.
So instead of like wondering what it's on, this app does it for you, and whatever you like with any app, it will cater to a movie similar to that genre or that story, and it's very innovative. I think it's really interesting.
It's called Just Watch.
Yeah, Just Watch.
Nice. I got to download that.
I honestly use it all the time now, because what was frustrating in the beginning when I had these streaming services, and I feel like I'm new to it. Like I've just kind of transitioned to everything. Like with the pandemic, I transitioned to streaming services more.
Right.
When I use the app, I don't see myself just scrolling anymore. Like I watch what I watch, put it in the watch list, and that's it. Or I just watch it.
Nice.
And I felt like with Netflix, I spent so much time scrolling through.
Yes.
And just like it like wasted time. Like I wasn't even interested in watching a film anymore. I was just like, I just want to see what's on here. But this app works wonders. It even tells you like new arrivals and for every service. So you just like tap what service you have, and it tells you all of that. So another free app, which is very useful.
Fantastic. Yeah, the whole scrolling with Netflix. I mean, it's like you spend like an hour and a half scrolling. You're like, I could have watched a movie in the time I just took scrolling.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Netflix has less content now, so you don't have to do so much scrolling, I guess.
Yeah, well, and now they're, most of the films I see on Netflix now are made for they're Netflix studio films. Like they're filling their own content with their own studio stuff. So, that's another thing to keep an eye out for is.
Yeah, that's interesting.
As the streaming services pop up, I think Netflix is going to keep losing more and more films, and they're going to have to fill they're going to have to fill those spaces. And Netflix studios, a lot of their films are very hit or miss. So far. So.
You know what I would do if I was a streaming service or even Netflix? I would buy short films, because people really like watching short films, believe it or not, and they're more likely to watch something short and towards their interests than long format. I feel like.
Right. Absolutely.
Just saying, I think it's a good option, especially if they're looking for content. I would think that short films are easier to purchase. They're less expensive.
Right.
And you can buy more of them for sure. Well, I think that's about it for today. We talked about a lot of subjects ranging from the theatrical experience to our streaming service recommendations. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thank you, Mark, for being part of the show yet again.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Catch you later.
See you.
I'll take importance for 400, Alex.
The only one that doesn't matter is the one that is never cast.
What is my vote counting?
Correct. It may sound cliche, but every vote matters. Make your voice heard. Don't let other voters decide the election for you.